Welcome, everyone. Hi, I like seeing all your faces. Hi. So, my name is Maria, and I'm friends with Daisy. And she invited me, and then I didn't come, and then I invited myself, and then she graciously hosted. And so we are just so honored to be in conversation with you about Qigong, about something that we love so much. And so this is something that I would like to, do you mind if we all just drop in for a moment? It'll really help me and help all of us. So I just invite you to feel your feet on the earth, because we're going to connect with the earth element. Feeling your feet or your sits bones. This is real briefly dropping in here. And, it took a lot to get here. And so I'm just inviting you to take a few moments. How we drop in right now will also lead to our practice. We'll do a short practice today. But how we're touching in at this point, we'll touch in again, deeper in our conversation. And so imagine for a moment that you are taking a nice deep breath, and then with your next inhale, you're calling yourself, you're magnetizing yourself back to yourself. And imagine that you're calling all your thoughts and all your senses, calling themselves here, and coalescing and collecting like a stone at the top of your head. You're calling yourself, condensing yourself, and saying to yourself, I am here. And then simply let that stone float down through the center of your body, floating down through water. And allow your consciousness to follow that stone as it floats down through your body. The pebble floating through water, floating through a pond. And let this pebble float all the way down to your pelvic bowl, down into your lower dantian. And allow this pebble to land on the floor of your pelvic bowl at your perineum. Now as the pebble lands at the floor of your perineum, there's like a little sense of arriving. And as a Qigong practitioner, we start our practice with a bow, with emptying our cup. But I'm going to do this slightly different today, spontaneously. At the place where that pebble is, if it feels okay to you, just go ahead and open your perineum and let all those thoughts, all those feelings, all that energy just pour down to the earth. So you become empty. You're emptying your cup down in your most yin. As you open at your perineum, as you open and empty your cup, this energy pours down to the earth, and the earth receives your energy. And this energy is such a gift to the earth because it's like a moisture. It's this wetness, it's this moisture from your body. And when the earth is moist, it's more receptive and it opens up even more. So your communication with the earth becomes amplified. So now that you feel yourself emptying out and connecting to the earth, go ahead and intend on sealing your perineum so you're not leaking energy or leaking your power. Sensing and feeling your pelvic bowl, your lower dantian as a container. In Qigong, we call this area, your hips, we call it your cauldron. This becomes your container for you to do your great work, for you to do your alchemy. So seal your container so that it is solid and it can take the heat, the intensity of all that you have to offer. And so now that you feel connected to the earth, you feel contained, now you can go ahead and bring your awareness, connect your awareness from this earth, stable, balanced place, and allow that energy now to just grow like a tree, like a plant, just grow up through your body, and you start to just activate and enliven you. As you become this tree, you can feel this energy rising up out through your arms, out through the palms of your hands, up through the tops of your head. And as it starts to go up through the top of your head, of course, we're connecting with the light, with the sun, with the cosmos. So you are rooted, you're expanded, and you're lifted. And then just simply from here, just feeling the light that's all around you, available to you, the starlight, the moonlight, the sunlight. And feel that light that's outside of you start to connect with the light that's inside of you by gently fluttering your eyes open just a little bit to let a little light in. So the light inside of you is matching the light outside of you. So when your eyes, by the time you're ready to fully open your eyes, you are present, you are engaged, open and curious, connected to all your sources. Beautiful. I see your light, all of your radiant light inside and out. Yes, so sincerely. I just wanted to share with you a little about Qigong and a little about Qigong for summer and about the earth element and how, oh my goodness, really, I would do better with questions. I didn't prepare a talk, but I had an insight today that really makes it important. This is probably really why I wanted to come on here, was because my insight. So, before I get started, I want to just get a sense. Who here practices Qigong already? Okay. So when I say Qigong, who here is like, what is that? And that would be real helpful if I kind of gave a little context. Would that be helpful? Okay. So let's just do a super brief. This is like, we're talking about like, what is Qigong? That's like asking, what is the Tao, right? The Tao that can be named is not the Tao, right? What is God, right? The one you're pointing to it all the time, you're living it, you're being it, but you're never 100%, right? So Qigong kind of fits in that, right? So it's an ancient art, it's coming from China, it's coming from Tibet, it's a shamanic art, right? And Qigong, then simply put, like the definition of Qi Gong, Qi means energy, life force energy, and Gong means work. Another word you might know is Gong Fu or Kung Fu, right? That is really associated to martial arts. Probably what happened was there was a person that was doing martial arts, and then an English speaker said, what is he doing? And then a Chinese speaker said, oh, Gong Fu, right? But Gong Fu doesn't have to be associated just to martial arts. Gong Fu means skillful work. So anything you do with an act of devotion that you are devoted to and you are skilled and you are refining and you're perfecting. So it could be your cooking, it could be your painting, it could be your teaching. So Gong Fu is your skillful devotional art. And a lot of people devote their art to their martial arts. So that's where Gong Fu came from. Qigong is this energy work, simply put. But there are thousands, like in the Yellow Emperor's Classic, which is a classic book written about Qigong, there are over 3,000 documented styles of Qigong. And so the style that I teach is like threads from multiple lineages. But Qigong, think of it as an embodiment practice. It's a way for you to be connected to all your sources. Why do trees live for thousands of years or hundreds of years even? Because they're always connected to the earth. They're connected to the wind and to the water and to the sun and to the rain. And they're connected to all their sources, and they know how to be resourcing, and they know how to exchange energy. Their very essence is an exchange of energy and a resource of energy. Qigong teaches us to be that way. So it's an embodiment practice. So it can be taught a lot of different ways. There's not one way when we're like, oh, I know Qigong, right? So the type of Qigong that I teach and share it's called all seasons Qigong. So think of it as it's following the path of the sun through nature, through the seasons. So wherever you are, whether you're at the equator, your northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, your body wants to be in communion with your environment. And when your body's in communion with your environment, then you're more equipped to be healthy, to be connected to all your sources. So each environment has an opportunity to have a unique practice. So I'm in the northern hemisphere, I live in Arkansas, so we have very clear seasons. And so each season, your practice changes a little bit, which is really great. So we say a lot of times in Qigong, it's same, different. You want to do the same thing over and over and over and over to deepen your practice, to get to the simplicity, to get to the foundation, but you don't want to be bored with it. So the seasons change, and so you're constantly adapting to the new thing while you're holding your center. And that's what earth is. Earth is what's going to help you hold your center in the midst of all the change. Every season and every element ultimately all comes back to earth. That's why we're having this conversation today. Any questions before I go deeper? I kind of want to see which way I want to steer this conversation. Is there anything pinging you or?
Yeah, it's so amazing that you bring us back to the very origin of Qigong and how the seasonal change like travels through our body, as well as like on the rhythmic dance with the earth and the heaven, and how it all come aligned together. It actually bring back to my recent study about how the during different season, how the qi, the energy travel in through different segment of the spine, because truly a good doctor, um, the diagnosis will be different based on the seasonal change because the energy moves. And yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Is there anything else? Because I kind of want to tag off on that. So another thing that's really beautiful about the all seasons Qigong, sometimes you see it written as 4 seasons Qigong, is that your body, this is what she just describes, how your body has energy pathways. So think of meridians. Think of your energy pathways as meridians. They're like rivers of energy. You see the models of the meridians, and they're all in these straight lines with these perfect little dots, and they're very linear. It's not like that. It's just like, think of rivers and streams flowing through your body just under the surface of your body. Some of these rivers and streams are just under the surface of your skin, and some of them go deeper inside your body. They're more internal, and then some come back up to the surface of the skin. But it's a very organic flowing of energy through your body, and there's distinct pathways that are associated with organs. So each season has an organ that's associated to it. So we're in the earth season. So our organ is the spleen. But the organs in general, let's just do that. So spleen is the earth, and it has the color yellow, and it's associated with your stomach. And so that means it's connected to your digestion. It's connected to your gut health. Your gut health is your other mind, right? Your gut health is your other mind. So and this is earth element. This is connecting you to your environment so you can feel stable, so you can feel grounded, feel rooted, nourished, so you can slow down and anchor in and be held. And when you're in that place, you shift out of the fight, flight, freeze, flee, right? You shift into your center. And then when you're in your center, then you can really trust your gut instincts. You can trust your instincts. And then this is earth element, instincts. That's earth element. That's your foundation to your intuition. So when you're grounded in your earth element and your gut is healthy, then you can really trust your intuition. It just comes online even more. And the earth element, like I said, is about deepening, slowing down, coming to your center, trusting your intuition. So it is associated with an animal, and that's the bear. And bears, they're very curious. They're very curious, playful, and they're big, and they have a presence. And they have an ability to be fully present in the moment and have kind of a good time. And they love to eat. They eat and they eat and they eat and they eat because they need to gain this body fat because they're going to hibernate. So they like eat. So they love sharing meals. They love eating. The flavor, the spleen and the liver are paired organs. There's yin and yang organs. The spleen is yin. The stomach is yang. It opens to the mouth. So it wants you to enjoy sweet taste and flavors like honey. So in Qigong, we're cultivating this golden elixir, which is honey. And the bear will be really fully present in their senses. And then they store all these senses and they experience life through their senses. And when you're fully present, you're like, okay, where am I? That's the other part of earth. We're often going through life and then we stop and like, where am I? Oh, I'm right here. Oh, I'm right here in my center. Oh, I'm right here in this present moment. That's earth, right? I'm right here. Oh, how do I know I'm right here? I have all my senses. I can see, I can taste, I can hear, I can feel, I can touch the earth. I'm right here. Right? So then you have these senses. And so then what earth element does, what bear helps you do, is it helps you synthesize and digest all this experience. And it helps you digest all this experience into wisdom. So you harvest this experience through the earth element. You harvest the treasure of the experience. And then the bear, after it's harvested and collected and harvested, it goes into a deep state of dreaming. So it taps into this intuition realm and this deep state of dreaming that dreams whole other realms into being. That starts to go into the metaphysical way, but the bear is a dreamer. And so spleen 21 is an acupressure point. Daisy can know more about that and talk to us about that. But that spleen 21, when you rub it and you put myrrh essential oils on it and you really connect with your intention to remember your dreams, it's going to help you remember your dreams. And so in a way, it's helping you be anchored. Where am I in your dream? Where am I in my sleeping dream? Where am I in my waking dream? Where am I? I'm right here in my center. No matter what realm you're in, I'm right here in my center. The other cool thing about earth element, why it's really important for us to cultivate, is earth. Okay, a couple things about earth. I'm just going to not get too heady, but earth, technically, we have yin and yang, right? So the path, I don't have a symbol here in front of me, but think of, I'm going to just hold this up and just imagine this is a calendar and a yin yang symbol. I probably have one somewhere close to me, but I guess I don't. So here on the bottom, we're going to call this yin, right? This is yin, the most yin, bottom, dark. Most yin, bottom, dark. This is your perineum. This is wintertime. This is water. The color is dark blue or black. And so this yin, it starts to grow. This water, the water grows. And so what happens is the wood, the plants, the wood starts to draw the water up through its roots. So this starts to grow and expand, right? This becomes wood. This is spring. And then it expands even more. This wood expands even more because it blooms and blossoms and has flowers, and that's the sun. And you're at the extreme yang. And at the sun, you open yourself, you express yourself. This is where we just have been in our Qigong practice. The sun is all about full expression and passion, and it's very fiery. It's very orgasmic, sexual, destructive, all these things, right? And this fire is going to consume a lot of you, and then this fire is going to burn down into ash, and this ash is then going to become earth. But that fire was extreme yang, where this was extreme yin. Earth is actually neutral. It's not yin or yang. It holds potentiality. The earth only produces something because the light touches it. It only produces something because the water and the light touch it. The yin and the yang are in it. And so then it produces something. But in and of itself, it's neutral. It's a field of potential, just like the quantum field. The quantum field is just a field of potentiality. The earth is a field of potentiality. It's what we put in it is what activates it. Right? So your center, when you're in your center, you're not being pulled, swayed by your emotions. You're not in your yin and yang, right? You're in your center. You're in the unification of it, balanced. That's what balance means, neutral. And so then after the ashes, we're in these seasonal changes, right? This is all about adapting to change. All about adapting to transition and transformation, all about maintaining your integrity even when you're dissolving and awakening and becoming this whole new person. You're still holding your center. And so because it's really important in this season right here is to prepare, because we're about to go into the most yin, right? We're about to go into the fall, and we're going into the winter, and that's when things get kind of confusing and dark. people get depressed and they get sick. And so this is going to help us, this season is going to help us be stable and nourished, so that in our next season we can have a strong immune system. We can work with our guardian chi and have a really strong immune system, so that when we go down into the dark of the winter, we can rest even more completely. So got a little heady there, but that's what earth element's all about, the 5 elements. And it's not really elements, it's more like phases. It's more like not one, almost when I hear the word element, it's like one fixed thing. It's fixed, right? But it's like, this is phasing. This is cyclical change that's always spiraling back to your center, back to the earth.
Maria, I just want to show the audience of the Spring 21.
Okay.
And, yeah, in the Spring 21, we can palpate like on the side of the body is actually our bra line, where we feel like most kind of like caught in that line. And it interesting enough that actually that would be a very important point. We can massage ourselves, like bring some more self-care that help with our health, our breast. Like a lot of women has concern about the health of their breast, and so massaging that area would help nourishing our earth element, because the channel that actually running through our breast is also the earth element as a stomach channel. So yeah, when we like focusing on how we can nourish our central energy, our earth energy, it actually also tonish in our body and bringing more self-care and self-love. So sending some love to the self, just patting slightly on the side. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about your breasts are nourishment. I mean, they have a lot of other functions too. They're very beautiful, but think of earth too. Think of beauty, nourishment. They go together, and that's what that's what your breasts want more than anything, is to nourish and to be appreciated.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you for sharing that. So when we're practicing Qigong, I'm not necessarily in my head thinking about all those things. It's more like when we're practicing Qigong, we're moving our bodies, and it's like poetry is what comes through more so than all these things. But we do embody what it feels like to be earth, what it feels like to be a bear, what it feels like to be nourishing, what it feels like to be centered. That's how we
it's like when you talk about that earthly centered energy, that feeling this goddess presence, like the earthly mother, fertile and encompassing all and gave birth to all. That kind of beautiful energy.
Beautiful too, that encompassing all. Earth also is really great at encompassing all and then having healthy boundaries, right? So our earth, our planet has healthy boundaries, or we would be like torn apart, right? So it has this healthy, it like comes to its center, right? So it has healthy boundaries, and it's our totality of, like, yes, we can move up, we can go on spaceships outside of our planet, but like this is the totality of our being. And you also use the word mother. So in each of these seasons, in each of these elements, in each of these phases, there are, like I said, there's organs and there's colors and there's animals. There's also archetypes. And the archetype associated with the earth you just described is the mother. And so another component about earth is Here we are, we're in a busy world. We got to hold it together. We got to have healthy boundaries. We got to be in our center. We got to hold this up. We feel like we have to have it together and hold together. And so earth kind of helps us be that, like be held together in our center. And it reminds us that even though we're holding it together, that we're held. So we don't have to be the only one holding it together. Actually, we kind of just come to our center and cohere ourselves in our center. And then from there, we're held by earth. So it teaches us how to hold and how to be held at the same time. But my insight that came to me, that I was like, oh my goodness, why I think this season is so important. Well, because it's your center, and that's where we're coming to, and that seems in and of itself the most important thing. But I'm a midwife, right? So I'm no longer practicing births, but I've been to hundreds and hundreds of home births. And one of the practices that really shines and thrives in home birth, more so than any other styles of birth, is the fourth stage of labor. Someone's coming in, I'm going to let them. So just in general, when you're thinking about birth, you're like, oh, when a woman's in labor, anybody that's attending her, they know to like leave their stuff at the door and to just be receptive and attentive to her. And then like they're quiet and they're real respectful of her needs. And then when she pushes her baby out, all of a sudden the baby's here. I don't know. It shifts. Everybody was quiet and all zen and meditative to, oh my gosh, the baby's here. They got their phone out. They're taking pictures. They're on Instagram. They're like, oh my gosh, the baby's here. They're posting. Oh, and they're calling grandpa. They're calling everybody. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, the placenta is still inside. The baby hasn't even nursed yet. Let's just come back down, right? And so that's my job as a midwife, to like, keeping it back in this like really quiet, like the lights are still low. Certainly we're doing all the assessments we need to make sure everybody's safe and healthy. And if they are, then we let the baby, come just be skin to skin with their mom, and then let the placenta be born on its own when it's ready. And then, nourishing her with food and her teas and getting her to nurse her baby and to just rest and eat in quiet with her family. And then when she's ready, she takes an herb bath. And then we do all the final exams, and then we leave because she's already at home. She's already in her bed. And then the midwives, we come back the next day and check in on her. And then we're calling her. And then a week later, we come back to her house and we check in on her. And then 2 weeks later, we come back and check in on her at her house. And then at 6 weeks, she comes out to see us. Now, that's not the normal, that's not common in the entire world how birth is. Like, especially you give birth at the hospital, the whole time it's in bright lights and the baby's off, and then you're sent home and da 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 da, and then you're going to come back 6 weeks later to have postpartum care, but you didn't have any care, right? And then you're expected to hurry up and just go back to work, and like, you're a mom, come on, you're a mom, you're a woman, you had a baby, so you'll probably figure it out. You have the instincts. Figure it out, move on, go, right? And then these women are like shell-shocked, right? And so yes, you do have the instincts. At the same time, after you do something so profound as giving birth, you just want to lay back on the bed and be in your nest and to be nourished and to create a relationship with your baby and to recover and regroup and restore before you go out into the world, right, with your new identity. Now, not all of us are like just giving birth, but we all just came through the Lion's Gate. We all just came through summer. We all just came through peeling away belief systems. We all just came through some radical understanding of stuff that we were doing that no longer works. We all like came face to face with our light and our shadow, our divine masculine and our divine feminine. We all just had a real intense ecstatic experience. Ecstatic is often very pleasurable, but it's also just a full experience with all the feelings, right? With all the sensations. So we just came from that. And so just think of summer, see all this red, it's fire is burning, and it could be really beautiful and sweet and sensual like a cooking fire. It could be really passionate like lightning bolt, catalytic explosion, boom. And so when you're in that experience, yes, the fire is gonna burn and you're gonna create ashes, and your essence needs a place to land. Needs a place to restore, needs a place to rest, to recover, to incubate, to come inside yourself, to integrate your experience so that you can then receive the gifts and the treasures that you just went through. But what happens traditionally, even with best intentions, you hear the 4 seasons, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's late summer. And they're like, what? So you just like, it's almost like you're expected to just have this dynamic summer experience. Summer is all about lovers. So you're all this dynamic, fiery, passionate, catalytic experience. And then just move on to fall and just let it all go. You just got to let it all go right now. And you didn't really have the time to integrate and receive your treasures. Because who you're birthing, whether maybe you are birthing a physical newborn baby, but who you're birthing is yourself. You are the newborn. You're simultaneously the newborn and the mother and the father. You're all these new roles, right? And so my invitation is to recognize you're in process. Haven't met a person in a long time that is not in a deep process. So recognize that you're in process, and then allow yourself the time to integrate with the process and to receive the treasures, to harvest the gifts from it. So that when it's time to fully let go again, every season offers a new opportunity to let go. Every exhale is another opportunity to let go. But autumn is a big one. Right? It's a big time to let go so that you can be fully nourished before you go into the time of deep release and letting go.
Maria, we have some really good comments from the audience.
Okay.
Is it okay I share?
Perfect.
Yeah, there's actually, because there's some delay I saw from Wendy. She said, in your earlier comments about spleen, she mentioned also spleen is also associated with menstrual cycle. And also, she also mentioned about earth. Earth is about being able to mother self and ability to receive mothering nourishment. And then she also commented on your home birth. She said, yes, for home birth, so beautiful and supporting of women to honor this rite of passage. So profound. Yes, for the nest and to be held and nourished. Thank you for this important work, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she understands earth element. Did you say the name was Wendy?
Yeah, Wendy Phyllis.
Oh, so yeah, she's classic, holds the archetype of earth, right? She holds the archetype of mother and of earth. And so I'm singing her song, right? What I'm describing is I'm describing her. I would like to create a quiz, in the priestess presence they have what type of leadership style are you? What priestess style are you? Are you an edge walker? That's what I am. Are you an ecstatic? You one that feels everything? I kind of am that too. Are you a mystic that sits in the silence, that can tap into other realms in the psychic realm? Are you the mother, the great mother? What's the other one? There's one more. The challenger. Dun. Are you the sword bearer challenger? Right?
Yeah.
The initiator. right? And so how those are all archetypes, right? And then they influence how we show up in the world as feminine leaders. So I would like to create the quiz of like, what's your Qigong archetype? Are you the pioneer, the one that's like always out there on the edge, looking for ways to grow and ways to share, and you're like kind of gonna be the first one to win? You're gonna get there. Are you the alchemist that is completely organized, very much in order, and are like need to know lots of details and a lot of facts, and you hold truth to be truth above all truth? Truth is where it is. Are you the mother, the one that nourishes and cares and provides? Like, what is your archetype? Right? And so I'm working on that. I don't have that done, but I can invite you in to experience the archetype of the mother and experience the earth element through embodied practice. And so maybe, unless there's not any questions, maybe now we could practice a bit.
Yeah, I just want to tap into one more thing. Is it
Sure,
okay?
sure, absolutely.
Earlier you mentioned about the home birthing process, how like the natural birth would be when the placenta come out, give the baby the chance to reabsorb that earth element come from placenta, which is kind of like what we call the pre-heaven qi. But a lot of the like modern days medical practice, they cut it right away, and so baby doesn't really have the chance to reabsorb the stem cell that's naturally burst out of placenta. So it's almost like there's a yearning of getting that little bit because there's some kind of trauma like unnaturally created. So like for me, I felt like part of me is like through years and years trying to come back home where it's not tangible, but can be palpable through the inner work, can feel back into that place.
So yes, and okay, you're talking about pre-heaven chi, post-heaven chi, and the desire to come back home. And we're also had a little bit of a conversation about where did Qigong come from? That it's a shamanic practice, ancient Taoist practice. People lived in nature, so they just practiced and observed nature, and then they created all these healing modalities, right? So there is a continuation of ancient, and then there is a little bit of where we live in a modern world. So you're talking about pre-heaven chi. That's called Jing chi. So there's Jing, Qi, and Shen. And this one word, Jing, represents massive amounts of things. Qi represents massive amounts of things, and Shen represents massive amounts of things. To just distill it down, Jing is the most distilled down. This is your essence. So how Wendy described, spleen has to do with menstruation, and we're talking about birth, and we're talking about the archetype of the mother. Jing Qi is your pre-heavenly Qi. That means it's the Qi from your mother and your father, the genetics. When those two people came together, the sperm and egg came together, they grew you. And then you grew from your belly button, from the inside of your belly button, and you grew, and then the cells divided out, right? And then you grew into this whole being from your belly button. And when we find our center in our body, our physical body, we always describe it, it's you go to your belly button, go in, and then go down about an inch or two, and you'll find your center. That's your physical center. That's your dantian. So your Jing Qi, your essence Qi, the Qi that you had before you were born, is pre-heavenly Qi. And then you're born. And then you're born. And then we did that whole scenario. In a home birth, in most home births, you're born, and let's just you're the baby now all of a sudden, I suppose. And so your cord is pulsating. Inside this cord is this liquid Wharton's jelly, and it is pulsating. Why this is important is I just want to take one step back. For a baby that's in utero, the baby's body, the cord, and the placenta is one closed circuit. All the blood in the baby's body, in the cord, and in the placenta all belong to the baby. The mother has her own circulation. The maternal circulation and fetal circulation meet at the placenta. The placenta is the guardian, the gatekeeper, the protector, the nourisher, right? And so all the oxygen and all the nutrients go to the placenta. The placenta carries it to the baby. All the waste from the baby goes to the placenta and carries it to the mom. The mom circulates it. Why is this important? This is important because the blood in the placenta, the blood in the cord belong to the baby, and they contain Jing Qi, pre-heavenly Qi, that's irreplaceable. It only exists in this form. So when you're born and you're allowed to have the cord pulsate and you're allowed to have the placenta be born, then the placenta has released itself. It's done. It's complete. That means you, the baby, received all of your Jing Qi, right? In a birth, when the moment the baby's born, it's very clear of the babies that had delayed cord clamping and the babies that had immediate cord clamping, because about a few milliliters of blood is still in the placenta. So those babies that had immediate cord clamping, they have a harder time breathing, harder time holding their temperature, harder time nursing, harder time gaining weight, all the things. You can see that they're not as thriving as the one that received all their cord blood. But this happens all the time. The baby's born, cord is clamped, placenta is actively removed, it might be looked at, and then it's put in biomedical waste. You might do some testing on it, or most of the time it's incinerated. So the ancient Taoists weren't born that way. They were born natural birth. And so all the texts say you can't go back and get any Jing Qi. They're like, this is it. You're born with it. That's all you have. But the modern world, those people that had our cords clamped and the placentas thrown away, I believe that it's possible through the nature of Qigong, which is a shamanic practice, the nature of understanding quantum realms and understanding being in a timeless realm without time and without space. You can go into these realms on a journey, and you can go back to your birth, and you can connect with your umbilical cord, and you can connect with your placenta, and in a sense be born again and receive all your Jing Qi. Now, what will happen? What will be the result? I don't know, but I'd like to lead you on that journey. I'd like to lead you on that journey and see, but I honestly don't know. But I do know newborn babies, they thrive when they receive all their cord blood. And there's a whole other beautiful conversation we could have about Jing Qi, because it relates a lot to earth element in a sense of we're working with our body, we're having healthy menstruations, we're going through transitions in our lives, right? We're going not only just through seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, but we're going from puberty to motherhood to childbearing to perimenopause to menopause, right? So we're going through all these other life transitions also. So we need our Qi to be in our center, to be as radiant and healthy and nourished as possible. So it's not just how we travel through the wheel of the year, it's how we also travel through the cycles of our lives.
That's so beautiful, Maria. As you're describing the loop as a baby was born through the placenta, the cord, like a loop circle, what I'm seeing is what I'm weaving when I practice Qigong is almost like I'm weaving this quantum field in a circle. I'm just gathering whatever source Qi that I need to bring back home to tonify my body. I'm just literally seeing it. I was like, oh, that's what Qigong is about. I'm come back to this womb space that I can, the whole universe is my womb. I'm gathering what I need.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, coming back into the womb space, being held by the mother, being held by the earth. Yeah. And receiving nourishment, because when you think about it, we receive nourishment through our skin, through our breath, through our thoughts, through our spiritual experiences, through our food, right? And all of that nourishment, all that, that's post heavenly chi. That we have some control over, right? You can choose maybe to have an air filter in your house. You can choose to have a water filter. You can choose to eat fresh living foods versus foods that are always packaged on a truck. There's some choices. You can choose to practice Qigong. There's some choices you can make that you have control over that's going to give you access to more Qi, higher quality Qi. Because in Qigong, what are we doing? We want to get more energy. And they think of it, they talk about it a lot like money, like a bank account, right? So your Jing Qi is all the money, it was like your inheritance. And then your acquired Qi, your post-heavenly Qi, that's your bank account. So that's all the money you earn through your life because you're out there hustling and working and making decisions. That's how you're earning money. But so we have control over that. So Qigong practice is currency. We're literally tapping into the currency of energy, the current. We're tapping into lots of different currents of energy and then we're going to cycle this energy through our body, right? And then we're going to store it. So we're going to generate it, we're going to cycle it, and we're going to store it. That's essentially the foundation of the practice. Now, what it looks like, it's through physical body movement or through meditation. All of a sudden, I kind of want to tell this story about Jing Qi just really quick, maybe to help you understand the importance of it.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I grew up needing to build a fire. Like I grew up out in Northern California, we needed to build a fire. And so you learn really early on that it's easier to keep a fire going than to build a fire. So there is this type of wood, it's like pitch, like you see it on the pine trees and cedar trees. Pine trees really has this sap in it, and this tree sap is pitch, right? That's a great fire starter. It's golden elixir. It's a golden elixir from a tree that is super sticky, incredibly potent, and a little bit of that, it can be a fire starter. So you're born with this amount of fire starter. Now your genetics and your constitution, that's really different. Each one of us is really different. Some people are born with just really strong genetics. They just don't get sick. They're rock solid. And there's other people that are born a little weaker, right? There's no doubt about it. Not everybody can win the Olympics, right? It's not like, well, just think about winning the Olympics. I mean, those people that win the Olympics, not everybody can be LeBron James. I mean, his physical structure, he is geared to be an all-star athlete. I cannot just think positive and play basketball and be an all-star athlete, right? That's not in my genetics, right? I can be good at something else, but it's not in my genetics, right? So he was born with a bigger chunk of Jing Qi, right, than maybe I was, right? Because I had sickness when I was a kid. Those people that are born, they don't have that much Jing Qi, they tend to seek out healing. They are the ones that are looking to the herbs, they're looking to the plants, they're looking to the crystals, they're looking to any way to like make their life better because they need the energy. Those people that are born with good solid Jing Qi, they don't care about Qigong, they don't need it. They're fine, they don't need it. Whereas the people that were born with less Jing Qi, we need it. So we sought it out intuitively. But I want to go back to that pitch, that little piece of stick wood. Now, if I'm going to start a fire and I'm going to shave off a piece of that stick wood, each time I only have so much. So each time I start a fire, I need to shave off and more of that stick wood to make my fire. That starts to become expensive for me. Versus shaving off a little bit of that sapwood making my fire, and then going and using my acquired chi, going out and collecting firewood, going out and eating well, going out and gathering resources in my environment, then I can keep the fire going and I can conserve this Jing Qi over here until I absolutely need it. But if I live my life kind of burning the candle at both ends, and I'm just constantly in a stress mode, and I'm constantly in a depleted mode, and I'm constantly in a place of lack, and I'm sick, then I'm just shaving off my sapwood all the time. And once you shave that off, then you're done. At least that's the Taoist perspective. Once you use that up, you're gone. So you don't want to use that up. You want to use this acquired chi. So that's why I think it's really essential as parents now, when you're giving birth and you're making choices for your children, don't clamp and cut the cord. Give them that little opportunity to get that as much Jing Qi as possible, not just for that moment. As a midwife, I didn't understand the long-term perspective that I understand now as a Qigong practitioner. Even though I was a Qigong practitioner then, I knew how important it was, so I just made sure it was possible. But now that is a choice that parents can now make that will actually not just improve the well-being of their baby in the moment, but for their whole life.
That's so beautiful, Maria. Can I bring some more of the audience?
Sure.
Yeah. Wendy has a lot of comments. She said she feel like it's like criminal, the medical approach to birth. It is such a powerful portal, and yes, the stem cells and the blood cord cutting too soon, and she also said, let me see, yeah, for you sister, bring this into the world. Good for you. And Qigong is so profound and simple, love. And thank you, Maria, for this important conversation. Let's get this out further to the field. And I also saw Taylor, and she said, love this rich conversation. Thank you so much, Maria. And
thank you.
Also when you said, yes, the cycles that you're mentioning, and yeah.
Right. And then I see you here, Elizabeth, you're asking, is there a particular way that this practice does healing work, as in healing the body physically? So, okay, so thank you for bringing that up, Elizabeth. Two things I want to say. We came in talking about earth energy, which is very practical, grounded energy, right? And in that situation, and here in a minute, we're about to do an earth energy practice in our body, right? And so we can tap into what it feels like. We also kind of went out into the cosmos for a moment, and we went into pre-heavenly chi, which is a little bit of an esoteric thing, right? And so what I was describing is to go back to the Jing Qi. That is talking about shamanic journey. So that's esoteric. And so what we would do in that way, I would lead you through a guided journey to do that. And we would do that as a group, and I wouldn't lead everybody back to their specific birth. I would take us all into a new birth and a water birth, and it would just be a new birth experience. And then that way I can hold you all at one time rather than trying to go back to everybody's and healing the trauma of their birth stories. But let's come back home, back to our center, and practice the physical movement for the earth. There's multiple physical movements for the earth. We're just going to do one today. And I see you, Daisy. You want to say something?
One more thing that you tied the knots earlier. You mentioned about the myrrh. I think you were talking about the reason, right? The essential oil in myrrh, which is perfect because you're mentioning about burning the wood and the resin, right, of the wood. And which is also myrrh, like you mentioned, it's almost like perfect metaphor, which is the golden elixir. That's the essence of our body. How we can compare it with that, the tree resin and or essential oil in myrrh. How we just feeling into that elixir that we're born with.
And I wasn't I'm not going to do the golden elixir movement, but in our Qigong for late summer session, we are going to do a movement that really harmonizes your three treasures, because we're going into our body to excavate the treasures. So we're going to go into our physical body, into our wombs. We're going to go into our hearts. We're going to go into our minds, and we're going to start to excavate the wisdom, excavate the love, excavate the treasures in our bodies. And so there's a beautiful movement. It's called Bear Eats Honey. And so we'll do that in our session. The movement that we're going to do here soon is called Pebble in the Pond, because we're all here on a sacred journey, right? We're all here knowing that our presence, when we're fully present, is an act of love, right? When we're fully in our center, and we're connected to our body, connected to the earth, then our heart just opens, right? And our mind becomes clear, and we become attuned to the frequencies, right? And we become a portal of life and of magic. And that's what your womb is. Your womb is a portal of life. It's a place for love, and it's a place for life and creation. And we're connecting to earth, which is fertile and holds all of creation. And when we're in that space, we flourish, right? We just rise to the occasion. That's another beautiful thing about Earth, which is kind of interesting. Yes, it has gravity, and so it pulls it down. Everything pulls down, right? Gravity is always on us. At the same time, a healthy, vibrant Earth energy in your spleen gives buoyancy to you. So like it helps hold up your pelvic floor so you don't have prolapse. It helps hold up your organs so you're in alignment, right? So you're not saggy, right? Even though gravity's on you, you're in the structure, and the structure of Earth is holding you in alignment. And so when you're in alignment, you transmit a message, right? You're very flourishing. And when you're in your center, you're just transmitting. And so this pebble in the pond movement is all about that, because it wasn't that long ago we really felt, as just generally speaking, that it was better and easier and safer for us to hide and to kind of be small and to totally just blend in, right? And there's this phrase that we've heard, I know I've heard, is don't make any waves, don't make any ripples, like just do your best to not make a wave, right? I definitely heard that. But the practice that we're about to go into is the realization that every thought, every action that we do is sending waves through the universe, right? So the invitation is to be in your center, so that when you send your waves, they're out concentric circles, they're resonant waves. They're waves that sound like this. There's concentric waves going out, right? I made that sound, right? First is a wave that might sound like, right? That's out of center. I clanked it. I used the same tool, the same thing, but I just kind of clanked it. But I wasn't in presence, right? And so the sound is really different. The waves that go out are really different based on intention and based on your center. So this practice, the simple practice we're about to do is pebble in the pond, is reminding you it's safe to make waves. You're encouraged to make waves. And then also, Earth reminds you that it's all going to come right back because you're receptive. Just like Earth, you're going to receive the result of those waves. And when you're grounded in your center, you have a sense of stability and confidence and nourishment. You're in alignment, so you're inspired and curious and open. That when you receive back what you put out into the world, it nourishes you. So it nourishes you to put it out, and it nourishes you to receive it back. So that's the intention of this practice that we're about to share. And then in the 5 weeks when we go together, we're going to be bringing in a lot more movements that will anchor you into not only just Earth, but all the 5 elements, because Earth is the space in between all the 5 elements. And then when we have all the 5 elements in harmony, remember, if you were here in the beginning, you know that Earth is neutral, right? And so we need to have harmonizing of all these 5 elements, of all these yin and yangs, and all these different ingredients and their fullness of their radiance of their capacity. Then we can create and grow something really beautiful. So that's where we're going in the 5 weeks. Are we ready to do a practice, a standing practice? You can be seated or you can be standing. We'll just do this for a few moments, right? When you do this on your own, you'll want to do it a good long time. You kind of want to get yourself into a trance, into the flow of it. And granted, here's the other thing, I'm giving you full disclosure. I've said this before, throughout all the elements, they go back to Earth, right? So when I teach and share a Qigong session, I don't start with the Earth, right? I end in the Earth, right? Because everything just comes to the Earth. That's how I close it. So for you, I'm sharing with you a movement that I just want you to know that when you do it now, it's normally preceded by multiple movements. And I'm going to say one more thing and then we'll stand up. Qigong, what makes it so powerful is how simple it is. And also think of Qigong as a formula. It's a formula, it's a recipe that's repeatable again and again and again. So when you're in a longer session and you're practicing for an hour, and then you finally get to the Earth and that stabilizing sensation, that's very profound. And so what we're doing is I'm going to share with you this moment, and I trust that it'll also be very beautiful. Just know that it's a piece of a formula. It's a component of a full big picture. Okay, so what you're experiencing is like there's a full buffet in front of you, and I'm giving you a bite of one piece that's on the full buffet, right? And know that there's so much more to it. Okay, so I'm gonna have a sip of water. Hey, I can see, it says, hey Marie, this is Kaylee. I was watching live on Facebook, then realized I sent, oh well, so Kaylee's here, welcome. Let's have a sip of water. And why it's so important to have a sip of water, A, is hydration. Think about Earth for a moment. Just embody in your mind just what soil feels like. Right? And when there's soil that's dry and compacted, it'd be really hard or depleted, kind of worn out, washed out, bleached out from the sun. It's not been tended to. Then It's really hard to plant a seed in there. It's really hard to even get in there. It's all compacted. But then have a sip of water. And then imagine moist soil, right? Moist soil, maybe with moss on top. There's sunny and then shady. And in that moist soil, when you open up that moist soil, it's alive. There's like microbiomes and microbes and life. And there's life on top of the soil and life growing in the soil, right? Because it's nourished and it's hydrated. And so our bodies are soil. And the other piece is early in, we talked about your gut health and how the spleen is all about your gut and your center and your gut. And so when your gut is healthy, it's also filled with microbiomes and life, right? And so I'm just pointing us back to hydration. Plus, we're about to do Pebble in the Pond. So we're going to be standing in water as earth. So I invite you to find your feet. It's going to give me just a second to get set up. If you're going to sit down, you can. Just adjust yourself, feel your feet on the floor. So, we're going to spend a few minutes doing this. So I'm going to drop in. And when I drop in, what I mean by that is I'm going to bring my awareness here to myself and see how I'm letting my hands float down. Slowly letting my hands float down. Feeling myself arriving in this present moment. And I tend to softly close my eyes. And now I invite you to anchor yourself here by gently breathing in and out. And as you do, you might notice a gentle rocking or swaying on your feet. You might rock toward your heels and toward your toes. So you're feeling your feet on the floor. And so now with your imagination, imagine that you have roots flowing through your feet. And they're going through the floor and into the earth. And you can sense and feel the earth is opening up. And we could go really deep into the earth, but just set your intention that your roots go in. And then start to branch out in all directions. This is another component that we'll do in our journey, in our session, in our 5-week journey, is we'll connect more with the earth, with our ancestors, with our lineage, with the life force under the earth, and more with the core and heart of the earth. For now, just reach in, feeling your roots expand, start to branch out in all directions. And since we are practicing together, go ahead and let your roots connect with the other beings, the other people in our circle and our practice today, so we can synchronize and learn together and amplify each other's practice. And now in the earth, there is water, deep in the earth, springs and wells, and allow your roots to connect to find the water. And in the Qigong generating cycle, the water goes into the roots of the branches. So with your imagination, go ahead and sip up this water up through your roots. And then just go ahead and we're going to just move fairly quickly. We're just going to sip this water up, all the way up through the insides of your legs, all the way up into your pelvic bowl, and let it pour into your pelvic bowl like water. And so we're going to sort of shift a little of our imagination. Your pelvic bowl, your hips, your pelvis. I referred to it earlier as a cauldron. It's a space. And in Qigong terms, they call it a cauldron. Oftentimes, they call this water that's in your pelvis like this. They describe it like water, mountain lake, a clear mountain lake. And so your body is becoming the earth. Your body is becoming like the mountains. It's holding the water. See, in Qigong, you're constantly shifting your elements because all the elements are present at all the times. And so from here, we're just going to sip this water up through our spines, up through our bodies, up through the fronts of our bodies, up through our breast. Again, in our next session, we'll spend time in the nourishment of our bodies and of our breast, and then you're going to let this water pour down through your shoulders, down through your elbows, your wrists, your palms, your fingers. Feeling yourself branch out, feeling yourself start to be activated, feeling this energy awakening in your body. And then one more breath as you sip this water up through the earth, up through your entire body, up now through your head, activating your brilliant wisdom, spirit, mind, opening gently at the top of your head, your blooming of awareness, your awakening, aware corona. And from there, sending your energy up through your room, out into the cosmic field, up to your soul star. And you'll feel how that energy just reaches down to you and picks you right up. Okay, so now you are connected to all your sources. And we're going to practice the form pebble in the pond. So keeping yourself connected to all your sources. Now I invite you to go back to the beginning. Maybe if you were here, maybe you weren't here, but go ahead and imagine yourself. You are the pebble, right? So imagine calling yourself into cohered form up into the top of your head. And we're going to let this pebble float down through water, down through your central channel, down, all the way down, and landing at the base of your perineum, at the base of the river. And as that pebble drops down to the surface of the water, it sends ripples out across the water. And so that's the poetry. Let's practice this form with the structure. So bringing your hands to your dantian. This area of your body is called your dantian. And you're going to breathe in and out. Let's do that 2 more times. Nice inhale. Bringing your awareness down into your belly. This is your earth center. One more. Inhaling. Expanding your belly. And then exhaling. Shrinking your belly. Okay, now we're going to start the practice. With your next inhale, float your hands out as if they're floating across water. I'm bending down and bending forward and floating my hands forward. And then as I exhale, I turn my hands toward me. And I stand up and I draw my hands back to my dantian. See how simple this is? Now let's flow with it. So inhale out. Exhale, draw it back in. Again, out. Your hands are floating across the water. Turning your hands, drawing this energy back to your belly, back to your dantian as you rise up. Floating out. These are all your actions. These are all your thoughts. These are all your words. You're sending ripples across the water. You are speaking and sharing your truth. You're aware that you're creating ripples. But since you're aware you're creating ripples, and you're aware that you're receiving the result of those ripples, you become a steward of your energy. You drop into your center. You connect with the earth. You nourish yourself. And as you do, your ripples send ripples of nourishment. And then you receive nourishment back. So the more you practice and deepen your self-care and self-love practice, the more love just radiates out from you. And the more love just simply returns. And even though your hands are floating out in front of you, like you see it here, imagine your hands are floating out from behind you and from beside you. You're sending ripples in all directions. And from all directions, you're receiving nourishment. One thing is, we're in process. We're not always in a state of unconditional love. We're not always in a state of feeling balanced and peaceful. That's what Earth Element is. Earth Element is a peacemaker. Oh, it makes me think of licorice. Earth Element is a peacemaker. Sweet peacemaker. But we're not always embodying that, right? And so sometimes we send ripples out into the world, right? Jealousy and anger. But fortunately, those ripples are dense. And so they go out of you. They radiate out from you, no doubt. And you'll receive the results of that. But fortunately, those waves don't travel very far. The waves of compassion, unconditional love, peace, joy, bliss. Those are high frequency waves that can travel across time and space. They travel very far. So I ask you, as you're sending your ripples out into the world, as you're finding your center, What's real for you? What are you actually sending out? How do you know? This is a better question. How do you know you're in your center? That's the question I'm dropping in. How do you know you're in your center? And I'm going to be silent and I'm going to let the form teach you. Practicing with your breath. Inquiry. How do I know when I'm in my center? How I know that I'm in my center is the way that I feel inside is also being reflected outside of me. So when I say, "Oh, I'm good," and then everybody around me is angry and they're yelling at me, inside I think I'm in my center, and they're all not in their center. Right? So what the picture on the outside doesn't match the one on the inside. It's usually a good indication that I'm not actually in my center. Because I'm going to receive the result of what I put out. You know the difference between a Qigong master and everybody else? Qigong masters lose their center. They feel every emotion that you feel. They're angry, they're frustrated, they're longing for something that they don't have. They're blamed, they do stuff, they wobble. The only difference between her, Qigong master, and us is she recognizes really quickly when she's off her center, and she knows how to get back to it quicker and how to stay there longer. She's practiced the skills. So let's start to slow this down. And as you slow this down, I want you to move even slower. Feeling your hands floating across the water, feeling your feet on the earth, feeling yourself receiving the nourishment into your belly button. This is birth here, this is primordial. You receive so much nourishment through that portal. Feel yourself start to integrate with this practice. So you're starting to come to completion. One more time. And this final time, as you draw this energy into your dantian, feeling like you're about to come to completion, we're going to do a standing posture for a moment, an earth power posture. So feeling your feet exactly right where they are, just go ahead and lift your hands and then rest them. I rest mine at the waist, like as if they're resting on the surface of water, just right where my hands naturally rest. Except for I'm not on the surface of water. It's just they land right here. The imagination I want you to imagine is that your hands, the palms of your hands, have magnets, both palms. And you're connecting with and sensing and feeling the earth beneath you. You can feel the density. You can feel how the earth could pull you in. You can feel how the earth is holding you up. Right? But I just kind of feel like if you could feel the earth kind of pull you in, you could sag, but be supported by the earth. And now, I want you to imagine, activate your magnets, and I want you to pull up. I want you to magnet as if there were filings on the floor, and you have powerful magnets, and your hands activate, and the filings of the earth pull up to your hands. You're magnetizing the earth up into your hands. And it's not going to just stay in your hands. It's going to travel into your dantian. So you're going to draw it up, like sip it up, draw it up, and then it's going to travel through these chi pathways, and it's going to condense into your dantian. It's going to go where it wants to go. It hung like it's similar down here. So it's going to draw earth energy, and it's going to connect it to more earth energy inside your dantian. Just be here. If you don't feel something right away, that's okay. Just imagine. If it did feel like that, what would it feel like? So when I inhale is when I draw it in. And then when I exhale is when I deposit it into my dantian. So a few more breaths. Let the earth hold you up. That's another thing. We always think we have to do it all. The earth teaches us, no, we don't have to do it all. Let the earth hold you. Let the energy of the structure of the earth just hold you. Now you're just standing here. It's not requiring that much effort. The earth is holding you. One more breath, receiving the nourishment of earth into your dantian. And now go ahead and bring, it doesn't really matter, just whatever way feels the most natural to you. A lot of people say for women, left hand on your dantian and right hand covering it. Whatever is the natural way. But bring your hands to your dantian. Bring your mind back here. Thanking the earth element for supporting us today and every day, nourishing us. Thank you for this practice and this conversation. So we were nourished by it. And then so it's the acknowledgement of that gratitude is a way to harvest the treasure. Finding something about this practice that you receive, that you are grateful for, that helps you anchor in your skill to receive. To find the treasure in the experience and to receive it and acknowledge it. Beautiful. And so now we're going to bow out. Right? We're going to close this practice. I'm going to do this. Let's do this 3 times, pulling down the heavens. So you're going to reach up. And as you reach up, you're just simply reaching up and then exhaling. And as your hands float down, gravity is doing all the work. Your shoulders are dropping, and then your elbows, and then your wrists, and your eventually, now your hands and your palm. And this is a real integrating, completing smoothing out movement. One more time. And you're integrating all of what we talked about, all the insights that you had, all the questions, integrating the physical practice through your energetic body, through your physical body, through your emotional body. And you're smoothing everything down, and it feels like you are coming to completion. And anything that's undone or needs to just be kind of cleaned up, just let that go down through your feet down into the earth. The earth wants it. And then we'll do one more. And this is a more completing. And just let this, imagine, even though your hands are down in front of you, just imagine your hands are floating down beside you and at the back of you, smoothing you all out. And all the debris, all the residue that's still in your body, let that float down all the way down into the earth. And everything above your hands is now clear. And feel this energy just going down into the earth. And it's nice because I always see it as water, and so you're moisturizing the earth. The earth loves that. And so now we'll bow out, bringing your feet together. Your left hand makes a fist. I said your left hand. I saw myself on the screen. It's not what you're doing. It's your right hand. Your yang hand, right? This is your yang hand. This is the one that can rise to the occasion. This is the light. This is your protector. This is the fire. This is the masculine. And now we bring our yin hand over it, and it covers it. It receives. The yin hand receives the yang hand. It envelopes it. It yields to it. This is water. This is yin. This is softness. And so bring this to your heart. Your heart can hold the paradox. It can hold the opposites. Your heart is capable of loving. And so from here, we bow forward. And we put our hands out into the circle. And we're bowing to each other. We're bowing to the practice. We're bowing to the element of earth, to our spleens, to all these lessons. We're bowing to Jing Qi and placentas, right? We're bowing to all these things that have been opened up and have nourished us. To each one of us in the circle, we're bowing to. And we're bowing to our teachers, to our teachers' teachers, and the teacher within. And then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and draw in, inhale, receive all that humility and all that gratitude, receive it back into your heart. And then what you're going to do is your hands are going to lower and you're going to step back out. And like, I always just open myself, like I'm in full radiance now. So you step into your full radiance, full wingspan, into your full presence here. Take up space, make ripples, be your authentic self. The earth needs you. We need you. And so being in that fullness and that grounded, stable presentness, and carry this with you through the rest of your day and the rest of your practice. Thank you. And when we're in our Qigong sessions, we've been doing that for about an hour. So generally we're not really able to talk. And so we utilize this time to journal. So if you'd like to, if there was any insight or anything that came to you, if you wanted to write it down, you certainly can. And then I would also Yeah, invite you to just be with the integration. That's what earth is. This is, see, we're done, so we're going to go to the next thing. But be in earth right here and just integrate. Hmm. If anybody would like to share what their experience was like, being in the flow, what they received from that, I would love to receive you.
Maria, this is very powerful. When you like feel like you told us to imagine what's that, the metal, um I forgot the word that you use. It's like imagine our hand is a magnet, all the
Oh,
metal right on the earth just coming up. It's almost feel like the earth's electromagnetic field. That's how it works, and nourishing our body, like the earth's energy just coming up, give rise of our spirit, give rise of our energy force. We're just calling that in and feeling that deeper in our body.
calling that in. Yeah, exactly. And feeling it deeper in our body. Yeah, when we say you're magnetic, it's true. It's not just oh, you're pretty, you're magnetic. It's like you really are electromagnetizing energy to your body and into your body for you to work with it as an ingredient. And that's why they talk about Qigong as an alchemical practice. I mentioned shamanic practice because I talked about animals, but an alchemical practice is like you're calling in the ingredients that you need and you're working with them on purpose to create something, right? So to an alchemist, which is a metal element, they're very organized and life doesn't just happen to them. They're not winging it, right? They are winging it, but at the same time, because they're way open to discovery of what happens. What happens when I do this and when I do that? But they're in their mind, their hands are magnets and they're aware that they're drawing it in, right? They're consciously aware of it.
Yeah, it's like consciously conjuring up my life force, whatever not me, just have to move so that my own life comes through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, one thing that came to me that, you know how you know, and then you remember, but then you forget, and then you're like, oh, yeah. One thing that Wendy mentioned was how the spleen meridian and spleen chi is really important to the menstruation, the menstrual cycle, right? And then how we did the massage for our dream points, and how, like, in our menstruation, we're really connected to our dreams. And so I was kind of, for the first time in a new way, bringing the spleen, earth energy, spleen meridian into menstruation and dreaming. Like, that's what, you know, I was always connecting them from a different point of connection, my dreams and my menstruation. But now I have another point of connection. They, through this meridian, you can connect to your womb and your dreams.
It is. It's so interesting because that point, I never thought about that point, how it's connecting with all the our ribs. Our ribs on the side look like spider web. It's like weaving our dreams, right? And that point is a Chinese name. It's called the Big Mong, like the shape like this womb space, and also like the shape of pyramid. I mean, kind of the name of it. It's almost like it giving birth to this life force, which is we are cultivating within our body, which is what we are weaving, and continuation of weaving our dreams into becoming, into being, and manifesting.
The Weaver Dreamer, which a lot of women have a bunch of fibroids in their wombs. And so I have fibroids, but I've said fibroids, but I was imagining endometriosis, which is all these fibers that are kind of tangled up. And so now all of a sudden I'm wondering how that is interplayed.
Yeah,
that's just another question all of a sudden that just opened up.
Yeah, it is the earth channels, right? It's all connected. Like connecting with here, when there's stagnation here, it also manifested as down below.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I see something in the chat. What is it? And connection to the bear medicine, dreams, exactly. To the bear medicine and dreams. And we're in our journey that we're about to go on, this 5-week journey. We're going to, embody the bear. And I might not take you through the entire form, although the form is pretty short, and it's one of these 5 animals. I think it's probably the easiest one. So maybe I will. But I'm going to at least share with you this really potent movement of the bear form, and it really elicits. Remember when I was like, earth element is all about being here. How do I know I'm here? Why, I activate all my senses, and I can tell that I'm here. Knowing that's just one way of connecting with reality. There's a lot more to it, but I can be present in this moment when I'm here. And so we connect with our senses, and we become this bear, and then we start to push. We're put a lot like what we just did. We rippled out. We pushed a tree branch. We connect to a tree, and we push this branch, and you can really feel yourself like with all your body, like pushing. And the amount of force that you push forward is the amount of force that comes back. So you can't just push the branch, or it's going to smack you and knock you over. You can't just throw things around. You can't just throw your energy around. You have to be a steward of your energy. So and have a sense of control and understanding. So when you push it, you have to be willing to receive. You can't just go pushing people around without being willing to receive. Because when in this form, when you push it and you're willing to receive, then it comes back and you receive it. And you work with it and you give it. And then you receive it as you're willing. But if you're not willing, you push it and then you get all beat up because you're pushing people around. And you're like, why are you hitting me? Well, because you're pushing and you're not willing to receive. So it shows you another way of how to wield power. And we just wielded a lot of power in the summer when we did fire and water, right? We wielded a whole lot of power, right? That was a different sensation. So we're a similar premise, how to wield power. to be steward of responsible power, but it's a very different form. It's a very different way to work with it.
Yeah,
So.
there's like I got this sense that whatever we send out to the earth, when it come back, it nourishing us. It's like how indigenous people, when they dance and give their thanks and gratitude to the earth through dancing movement, and they receive back of the harvesting and the nourishment from the earth. Yeah, this continuous
Well,
and receiving. Yeah.
exactly, because they're connected to the earth, so they know it. It's those of us that we're disconnected. We're like, I have this bright light on and we're in front of the computers, and like we have this artificial. I grew up with firewood, right? But now I just push a button. It doesn't matter the temperature, it can always be 70 degrees, right? And so those indigenous people lived with nature, so they had a whole different deep understanding. That's why we're learning from them. That's why we suppressed them and cut them off from their source and hid them and put them away and separated them from their family, because they're powerful. We had to, we meaning patriarchy, had to control them because they were so powerful, because they were connected to all their sources. That's why Qigong was always a secret. All the stuff some of these things we talked about, Jing Qi and all that stuff, that public normal people did not get to have access to that information, because it made them powerful. So we have to be stewards of this power and practice. So hence Qigong is energy work, means you dedicate and you practice it, and you show up again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, harvesting the inner power, nurture, and be the steward of that inner power.
And while, yes, those beautiful Taoists have nice temples, they do have very nice temples, but they don't have all these same sort of cathedrals and things. So they didn't spend their time building these super fancy cathedrals. They spent their time on their inner sanctuary. So they built temples and cathedrals just inside themselves. Right, and then I see one more, and it's getting close to 8, so we should probably be ready to. Okay, so learning from our ancestors is powerful. Also, embracing their practices helps keep them alive as well. Exactly, we're lineage bearers, right? And so, thank you for that. It is so powerful connecting with our ancestors. And that's a relationship. So Earth is mothering, and it's about building relationship and connectivity to all things. So relationship to ourselves, to our ancestors, to the earth, and relationship. Presence and being centered. After summer Qigong and being in fire and on fire, I love the idea of how you have previously mentioned that fire from the heart can heat up the hearth of a home and bring connection. And that same fire can catch an entire home, mind, body, and spirit on fire if it's not balanced. And how starting a fire from scratch, it's hard, but maintaining it takes skill and patience. So I love the idea of late summer Qigong, integrating home within, hearth and home and earth. Yeah, so you all understand. You all understand it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So in our final sessions, our final few minutes, are there any questions? Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I did not even prepare. Do you mind if I put the link to the Qigong
Yes, please.
there? I'm going to do that. And then I will also just spend just a few moments with the invitation to invite you if you'd like to join. And I'll put it in here in just a second, but I will just give you an outline of what it is. Not so much of all the content, because a lot of the content we've talked about, but what it is you can choose to be on Monday evening or Tuesday morning. It's a 5-week experience. Either way, it's essentially the same practice. It's just with different people, and so slightly different flavors come out, right? Because it's this alive experience. But essentially, it's the same. And what makes this different than a Qigong class per se, rather than a session, is that when we come in, we light our candles, we oftentimes anoint ourselves, and we drop in and we set an intention. From that intention, I weave your intention into the practice. Then we go into the practice. In the practice, I have you empty your cup and really call in your ancestors and your guides and your guardians, so it becomes ceremonial. It's a ceremonial experience in that way. And then we go into the physical practice. And then after the practice, one thing what I want to say is when we set our intentions and light our candle, I'm not recording. So we're just kind of not recorded. So it's a little bit more freeing. And then when it's time to start the practice, I press record. And so when you get the replay, you're only going to get the replay of the practice, but not everybody talking. It really opens people up. They feel more free to talk when they're not being recorded. So then after the practice is complete, I stop the recording, we journal for a few moments, and then we debrief. We harvest the treasures from the experience. So I would expect to be on there for a full 2 hours for the beginning and the introduction and the practice. The practice itself is usually right at 1 hour, but there's this buffer and there's a sisterhood. So what you're stepping into for this next 5 weeks is your own devotion to your own practice, and your presence really matters. So the other women are going to be in there in community with you. And I see that Daisy just posted it on there. So wonderful. So thank you. And then what's your question? I would love to know more about this practice. What would you recommend I start with? Well, Elizabeth, I would invite you to join us. Depends on what you're wanting. I would invite you to join us because it's 5 weeks, right? It's 5 weeks. It's like you get a sense of what earth element's like. Knowing that I'm one teacher of thousands. There are many, many different styles. After this 5-week session, I'm going to actually kind of switch it up a little bit. So this is not exactly, but I'm kind of just telling you where I'm going. In October, I'm going to take people on a deep dive where we're in that circle, where we're in that ceremonial space. And that'll be the yin. That'll be in the night, and it'll be in a ceremonial space with the sisterhood, with a group of people. And then in the day, the next day on Tuesday, it's going to be just the practice. I'm not going to have so much ceremony, so it's going to be just the practice. So that'll happen in October. So that'll happen in about 5 or 7 weeks from now. But for right now, what I'm offering like next Monday and Tuesday is this, what she just posted in the chat. But I guess also, though, truth be told, if I were to want to just get started and I didn't want to sign up for something, but I just kind of wanted to know, like look around, I would go on YouTube and I would be like, and I've done this, YouTube, late summer Qigong. And then I would see who shows up and I'd practice their thing. But that's why what I do is different than just watching a YouTube video. That's why I hold you in a container with sisterhood, with intention, with leading you on a journey, because yes, you will get the replay, but you're also receiving so much more than just watching a video, even though watching a video is really amazing too. Okay, thank you. So we're at the top of the hour. Are there any more questions or anything that anybody would like to process before we bow out?
Oh, Maria, you want me to pull a card?
Yes, please. And I was going to do one too. I didn't know because I didn't show it on the recording, so I didn't know if I was going to share it. But let's see, there's one comment here too. Let's see. Monday night is such a vibe. Yeah. I hope you can all be there. It's gorgeous and enriching experience, and the sisterhood and this practice is medicinal. I have to hop off, but I hope to see you all there. And definitely, she's right. Monday night is a great high vibe. And the other thing, all of it, what she said is like, ring it in. I just want to underscore this practice is medicinal. It's pure medicine. And the difference between this medicine and other medicines, it's medicine that you make. It's infused with your own life force energy. So it is unique to you. It's irreplaceable. It's unable to be replicated versus a lot of other medicine that's mass produced for everyone. So, if you would like to draw a card, I want to draw a closing card too. So we're gonna drop in with the arc. So the card I pulled to close is catalyze, lightning, awakening, active. And this is the tool of lightning. And it says transform, ignite, reveal, burn away, awaken. And that's just, see all this red behind me? This is where we've just been. And that's perfect. And the card that came before, we chose a card in the beginning, was attune. And this is the wise woman's staff. The wise woman, she's very simple. Qigong is definitely a wise woman practice. She's simple. She's holds her neutrality. She doesn't get swept away by emotions very often. Yet she's so loving. And a wise woman is a medicine woman, right? And Qigong, this practice is medicine, right? And so wise woman, sacred tool. So we received two tools here. The staff of alignment, this tool says attune, resonate, and transmit. And this this transmission will activate you. Yeah. And I'm seeing your comment here, Elizabeth, about being sick and being knocked down in many ways. So I saw you with the, taking care of yourself. And so I'm sending you like a lot of earth, love, and energy so you can feel recuperated and rested and restored. Beautiful. Thank you.
So the two cards that I draw earlier, this is a message from Akashic record. This is how it looked like. And I'll read the message on top of it. It said, in your hearts, many are aware of the trifold flames of love, wisdom, and power. What many forget is that the three are united at the base.
The three are united. Jing, Qi, and Shen are united at the base. Don't you love it? I mean, of course, we're attuned to the frequencies of the oracles being like spot on. And isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah. This card also comes with an activation. So it's telling you to do a deep breathing in and breathe out. When we breathing up, we hear the words light wisdom. And when we breathe out, we hear the word calm. So it's like that wisdom, calm.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful.
And this card kind of like in a similar metaphor. It was so interesting because I was doing kayaking earlier, and my partner was telling me, look in the water. It looked exactly like this from inside the water. It has a light coming out. It's like reminding us the light come from the base, the deep at the bottom of the water.
Mm. Beautiful.
And that's our inner light.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. That radiance. Mm. I feel so good right now. Peaceful.
Me too.
And I feel like, oh, the beauty of the practice. And I feel in a lot of ways, just honestly, the word is blessed to get to share this with all of you and to live it in my own body. Like, oh, and now I chose this. We chose to be in these bodies. We chose to be here. Yeah. So, in a few weeks, maybe we'll do another one and we'll do a little bit more heads up so we can, invite more people. And that's when we'll open up the new options for the drop-in class where you can drop in, try it out, just it's not so deep dive. And then those that are wanting to go deeper in and just go for the long, go for the full spiral, then that'll open up too. And then today was an invitation to join for Earth, and then, yeah, and to introduce you to Qigong and to connect and create a relationship. And then we'll just go from there. Hmm. Well, thank you. Oh, did we get all the comments?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to make sure I didn't leave somebody because I don't see Facebook or see other comments. So
Another comment is from Claudia. She says, "Thank you so much for sharing all of this beautiful information."
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, well, good night, my loves, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And I look forward to practicing with you soon.
Yes. See
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye, Maria. Bye, Elizabeth.